beginning. Again, we're going to work with a table view and how to build a table view inside of Xcode. And in addition, we'll look at how to pull data from a website. In this case, they're pulling data from Wikipedia. Okay, this is data from Wikipedia. So how can I go about that? And so I'm going to close my simulator here. Okay. And let's just briefly talk. Chapter 28 in the book doesn't really have any doing of things. They talk about certain things, but really the doing stuff is on chapter 29 when you're building the interface. Okay, so let's just start with 28 and talk briefly about that. There's two types of tables. One of them is called a static versus dynamic table view. And what is the difference between a static and dynamic? Well, in this case, the static tables are useful in situations when you have a fixed number of rows needed to be displayed in a table. Okay, again, you have a set database that is not naturally changing. Hey, I have 15 items, I have 15 basic rows, right? Static. Then they also have what's called a dynamic table, also known as a prototype-based tables. On the other, are intended for use when a variable number of rows needed to be displayed from a data source within the storyboard editor. Let's think of a news site like we just looked at The Guardian, right? You're going to have different rows according to how much news is that day. They don't have the same amount of boxes each time, so that would be more of a dynamic one, because it's dynamically making the tables according to how much data is being sent to it, or pulled, or like it, right? And most of that would be using what kind of format to pull the data? Well, an easy way to do it might be an XML file, or something like that. And again, I'm on chapter 28 in the book. Each table view in an application needs to have a delegate and a data source associated with it, within the exception of static tables which do not have a data source. The data source implements the UI table source protocol, which basically consists of a number of methods that define the information, how many rows of data are to be displayed, how the data is divided into different sections, and most importantly supplies the table view with cell objects to be displayed. Okay, so it needs to pull the data, needs to put the table in the box, and then have some formatting, almost like CSS, right? And you know, what font size, what color is the font, how big is the picture. Those kind of things need to be established before the table is actually displayed. And you'll have that in the code today. It'll say font, you know, how big is the font, and things like that. The delegate implements the UI table view delegate protocol and provides an additional control over the appearance and functionality of the table view, including detecting when a user touches a specific row, defining how rows, heights, and indentations, and also implements how a row deletion and editing function. Let's see. Table view styles. Table views may be configured to use either plain or group style. In a group style, the rows are grouped together in sections separated by optional header and footer. So the example in the book there they show is a car dealership. Of course, it has both text data as well as photo image, and then it has a header at the top that tells you, hey, this is the car details, and then it has a footer at the bottom. So that's one way to break up the way. Another way, of course, is a big list of items. Like in the book on page 200 there, they have a list of the months, right? And of course, it goes all the way across. Then they talk about self-sizing table cells. Within self-sizing cells, each row of the table is sized according to the content of the corresponding cell based on the auto layout constraints applied to the cell content. Self-sizing will be demonstrated in the next chapter. So they talk about just how to make it so it fits the different sizes. In addition, they talk about dynamic text that can be changed in size. iOS provides a way for users to select a preferred text size which applications are expected to adopt when displaying text. The current text size can be configured on a device via the settings. So again, what they're talking about there on page 201 is about how you can adjust the size of the text. And let's turn the page. They talk about the different ways to configure your font on page 202. It's called Preferred Font for Text Style Property to one of the following pre-configured text styles. Okay. Again, they have a headline, subheadline, body, footnote, caption 1, caption 2. And then they show you the code for that. So then they go over basic table cells. Let's move on. Oh, on page 203 is where they talk about how to use the code to do what I was talking about before, where it takes things in and out of memory as you're scrolling through the table. And let's read about that just for a moment. A table view is, at the basic level, comprised of a UI table view object and a UI table view cell. For each row to be displayed, the code for a typical iOS 9 application uses table view will not directly create instances of the cell. The reason behind this comes evident when performing the memory requirements are taken into consideration. Consider, for example, a table view that requires to display 1,000 photo images. It can be assumed with a reasonable degree of certainty that only a small percentage of cells will be visible to the user at any time. If the application was permitted to create such 1,000 cells in advance, the device would quickly run out of memory and perform limitations. Instead, the application begins by registering with the table view object the class to be used for cells objects along with the reuse identifier previously assigned to that class. If the cell class was written in code, the registration is performed using the register class provided at the UI table view object, for example, and then they show you the code there. And then in this event, the cell is contained within the interface builder, and then register method is used instead. So it's important to remember that the cells created using the prototype within the storyboard is not necessary to register the class, and in fact will prevent the cell or view from appearing when the application runs. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you read between the code right there, basically it's going to take things in and out of memory as they're being displayed, is what it's kind of saying. As the table view initiates, it calls the cell row index path method of the data source class, passing through the index path for which a cell object is required. This method will then call the DQ reusable cell with reuse identifier method of the table object, passing through both the index path and reuse ID assigned to the cell when it's registered to find out if there is a reusable cell object in the queue that can be used for the new cell. Basically, again, all that is that it's taking things in and out of memory as you're scrolling through. And kind of at the bottom of 203 is what they're saying. As the user scrolls through the table view, some cells will move out of the visible frame. When this happens, the table view places them in a reuse queue. As cells are moving out of the view, new ones are likely to be coming into view. For each cell moving into the viewable area, the table view will call cell for row index path. This time, however, when it's called the DQ reusable cell with reusable identifier method is made, it's most likely that the existing cell object will return from the reuse queue, therefore avoiding necessary to create a new object. That's the summary, again, of chapter 28. Again, we really didn't do anything in 28. It was just kind of concepts of how to use and program the table view. So let's get to chapter 29, which is actually building the table view that we just saw. Again, chapter 29 is building the table view. One of the most powerful features of Xcode Storyboard involves the implementation of table views through the concept of prototype table cells. This allows the developer to visually design the user interface elements that will appear in the table cell, such as labels and images. then replicate this prototype cell on demand within the table view. So we're going to be making one box that has a photo and a label, right? We're going to make one box. So when we make it, we make one box that has a photo and a label, and then there's going to be a data source, okay? And in that data source is going to have three things. It's going to have a picture, and it's going to have a label, and then it has a link to the Wikipedia. So that data source is basically a list of different information, photos, labels, and then links. So you're going to have three lists, and then when the app runs, it'll take each one of these and make it into a new row. So you make just one row, and when the app runs, it takes the data and makes the rows for you. Okay, so you don't build all the rows together. You just build one, and then the data will generate each of the rows separately. Does that make sense? And the data is pooled. So you can add more, right? Hey, I can add 15. In this example, there's only 5. But think about it. You make a data source, and then it generates the rows according to that. Okay? So that's what they're talking about on page 205 in the book. Okay, so I'm going to start again with a new, by going under File. I'm going to follow the book. I'm on page 205. So, oh, wait, I got the Wheel of Fortune. It's the Wheel of Fortune. I love the spinning wheel of color. The color spinning wheel. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to say File, New, okay? I'm going to say File, New File, or Project, I'm sorry, File, New Project. And it's going to ask me what kind of project do I want. Again, we're going to be using the single view. And I'm going to click Next. Yep, Next. And they told us to call it Table View Story, so I'm going to call it Table, T-A-B-L-E, View, V-I-E-W, Story, like that. Again, we're going to use Swift and Universal for the settings. Say Next. And it's asking you where you're going to store it. Hopefully you have a folder that already has that. And if you don't have the pictures for the example, I guess I can put them somewhere. But the pictures for the example come from the link from the book. And I have it on this computer. But maybe you can just download some photos when we get to that point and put them in. As long as you name them the same. When we make the list of the photos, like right now, you might not have the pictures that are in this chapter, is what I'm trying to say. But the pictures and the name of the files is what's important, right? I'm going to import the pictures into here, and those pictures are going to have a certain name to them. Then when we make the list of the photos to put it into the table, they have a certain name to them. As long as that doesn't matter. If you can download a picture off the internet, change the name of it, and bring it into the app, and call it whatever you want. What I'm trying to say is when we get to making and putting the photos in, as long as the name and the name of the file are the same, it'll put any photo here. Okay? I have the photos already on this computer that they use in this chapter. So I'm going to leave this going to this folder for right now, and I hit Create. Again, we're going to start with the storyboard file. Whenever you start the application, again, you have your project window over here. The first one is right here. If you don't click on it, again, you have these other views here. But really, mostly we work with the project view, this one right here. Then we're going to go down and click on the main storyboard and look at that for a moment. In order to fully understand the steps involved in creating storyboard-based table view application, we will start with a clean slate by removing the view controller added for us by xcode. Within the storyboard canvas, select the view controller scene so that it's highlighted in blue and press the delete key. So again, they want us to remove this one. Oh, so if you click on it there, I don't know why I don't see it. I need to, there it is. I got to view up a little bit.
Is this a single page,
Yeah.
single view application?
Uh-huh. So we're actually going to delete this main storyboard and add a new one. Kind of almost like the last week when we were making an app. Remember we were removing the Swift file and making new Swift files each time? You notice a pattern here in doing this, in that not using the default files that are made here, but you might need to remove them and start with new ones, is what they're trying to say. Right? Not necessary all the time do we use the default files. So again, I'm on page 205. In order to fully understand the steps involved in creating storyboard-based table view applications, we will start with a clean slate by removing the view controller added for us by xcode. Within the storyboard canvas, select the view controller scene so that it's highlighted in blue and press the delete key. So again, I click on it, make it blue, and hit delete, and it goes away. So we've removed that view. Select and delete the corresponding view controller Swift file from the project navigator. That's this one right here. See this one right here? You want to delete that file. Okay. You can either right click on it and say delete, or you can of course hit the delete key and you just say move to trash. Okay, so again, I clicked on storyboard, deleted the blue thing, the main viewer that was in there, and I clicked on the Swift file that was over here, the one that said view controller Swift, and deleted that also. At this point, we have a template project consisting solely of a storyboard file and a single app delegate code file, and are ready to begin building a storyboard-based application using the UI table view and UI table view cell classes. Again, the UI table view will be the information for the view, and then the cell will be the information that goes inside it. Adding the table view controller to the storyboard. From the perspective of the user, the entry point into this application would be the table view containing a list of tourist attractions within each table view cell containing the name of the attraction and corresponding image. As such, we will need to add a table view controller instance to the storyboard file. Select the main storyboard file so that the canvas appears in the center of the Xcode window. From within the Object Library panel, View, Utilities, Show Object Library panel, and drag a table view controller object and drop it into the storyboard canvas. What they're trying to say is over here, you have a view controller right here, right? If you don't see view controller down here, you can type in view here and that will pop up. We're going to take this view controller and we're going to drag it out here. We're going to make one.
How did you delete it the first time?
I selected it so it was blue and hit delete on the keyboard.
Okay.
So again, notice I have the main storyboard selected here, and I grabbed the view controller and dragged it out. Oh, I dragged the wrong one. My mistake. My mistake. I dragged the wrong one. You want the table view controller. I'm sorry. Type in table view controller. T-A-B-L-E. Table view. That's what I want. I'm sorry. The table view controller. So if you put that blue one on there like I did the first time, made the mistake, delete it. Go to the table view controller and drag that one out. I knew there was something wrong when I looked at it. So there's a specific view controller for the table view, and that's the reason why they made you delete the first one, right? Remember the blank one that was first? So everybody got the right one on there now? Yes? Okay. Within the view controller, select the storyboard, display the attributes inspector, and enable his initial view controller attribute. So again, this one right here, if you click on the main storyboard right here, over here, you need to say is initial view controller right here. You need to click this box right here. What that does is it tells the app that this is the first screen that shows when the app runs, right? Do you remember when we were making the other apps earlier and it went from screen to screen to screen and you needed to designate which one was first? Well, that's what this is doing here. Is initial view controller. This is you have to click on this that tells the app that this is the screen we're going to be looking at first. Because then you're going to have data when you push the button, it goes to another screen, right? So within the storyboard, we now have a table view controller instance. With the instance is also a prototype table view cell that we will be able to configure to design the cells for our table. At the moment, these are generic UI table view cells and UI table view controller classes that do not give us much in the way of control within our application code. So that we can extend the functionality of these instances, we need to declare them as being subclasses of a UI table view controller and a UI table view cell respectively. Before doing so, however, we need to actually create those subclasses. Okay, so basically they're talking about you need to make the pieces to put the content in. We will be declaring the table view controller instance within the storyboard as being a subclass of the UI table controller named attraction table view controller. At this point, the subclass does not exist within our project, so clearly we need to create it before proceeding. To achieve this, select New File option. Again, we're going to be making some new programming files. It's basically, what they're talking about is you need to make a box and give it some information, right? Hey, what is the box going to be called? That's what they're telling you. And it needs you need to make a spot to put the information in. That's what they're talking about. Okay, so to make the box, to achieve this, we're going to go File, New. So again, we're going to go File, New, File. So again, File, New, File. We're going to do the Coca Touch class right here, the first one, the one that's highlighted. And you're going to go Next. Okay, now this is important. The name that you give it here is the name that's going to be needed in the programming. Okay, so make sure you name it properly, and when you name it, make sure you hold on. Click the next and subsequent screen and name the class Attraction Table View Controller. Okay, so we're going to call it Attraction with a capital A, T, T, R, A, C, T, I, O, N, Table, T, A, B, L, E, and then View Controller, leave it like that. The first time I did this, I spelled it wrong, and I didn't get it to work, and I had to go back and try and figure out what was wrong. So make sure you think and make sure you spell everything right. Okay? So again, Attraction Table View Controller. And change the subclass of the menu to UI Table View Controller. So this one down here, you need to change to UI Table View Controller, right there. So again, this name up here, oh, now I got two tables in there. How did I get two of them? Oh, it changed it. Be careful of that. Be careful of that. You might have to go back. It took whatever I put here and put it up there. So again, down here it should say UI Table View Controller. And let's make sure this says it right. Attraction Table View Controller. So it looked like when I changed it here, it actually put the table view up there. So be aware of that. Do you see that? Okay. What else? Make sure that you also create the XIB files turned off. And then click Next. And then hit the Create button. Within the table view controller added to the storyboard in the previous section, Xcode also added a prototype table cell. Later in this chapter, we will add a label and an image object to this cell in order to extend the class is necessary to, again, create a subclass. Perform these steps by selecting File, New File, menu option, and within the New File dialog, click Coca Touch Class, click Next in the following screen. Name the new class Attraction Table View Cell and change the subclass of menu to UI Table View Cell and proceed with the class creation. Okay, so they're going to make another one. Again, they're going to make another one. So again, I'm going to go back to the File, New File. Again, we're going to make another Coca Touch class. This one's going to be a table view cell. Table view cell. So I'm going to change this first before I name it because it's going to actually change it up here, right? So change this first to the UI table view cell, and then change the name up here. Again, it's going to be Attraction, ATTRACTION. And again, it says UI table view cell here. And then, of course, leave this all the same. Hit Next. Choose the same folder it's always going in. Hit Create. Okay, so it made two Swift files. One for the cell and one for the controller. So two different programming files. One programming file for basically the main screen, the interface, and the other one is for the content that goes into it. The cell is the content that they... Okay, let's go back to the main storyboard. Next to the items in the storyboard need to be configured to be instances of the subclass. Begin by selecting the main storyboard file and select the table view controller scene so that is highlighted in blue within the Identity Inspector. View Utility Show Identity Inspector. Use the Class drop-down menu to change the class from UI Table View Controller to Attraction Table View Controller as illustrated. So again, we're going back to the main storyboard here. You're clicking in this blue, making this blue here, okay? And I'm going to click inside the highlighted in blue, and go to this option right here. So again, make this blue, click up here, make it blue, go to this option right here, inside here, or if you don't see that, you can always go to what they're saying in the book, View Utility Show Identity Inspector, but you can click the Identity Inspector right here. So again, click here, click there, and then change this right here to Attraction Table View, this one right here. See that they have a little diagram in the book there. Anybody got that? Again, I clicked here, clicked here, and then I clicked here. Similarly, select the prototype table cell within the table view controller storyboard scene and change the class from UI table view cell to the new attraction. So again, to do this, you're going to actually click in this box right here. You need to make it, there we go. Somehow, right here, kind of, no. Click it so you have a dot right there. See that dot? You gotta, it's weird how you got to click this. You got to click it, maybe click off on whatever. Get it so that you have the little, see the white box at the top of mine? Do you see that? So get it like that, okay? Once you have it like that, we're going to change it to a class over here. Again, I'm clicking here. I'm going to go to where it says class, and we're going to use the table view cell, this one, Attraction Table View Cell. Again, how did I do that? I made sure this was selected here, down here. See it? Then I went to here, and then I chose the new one that we just made, Attraction Table View Cell. Anybody got that? Ready to move on? Okay. Within the appropriate class, with the story next to design a prototype cell. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start by building the content. Later in the chapter, some code will be added to the project to replicate instances of the prototype table cell. This will require that the cell be assigned a reuse identifier. Within the storyboard, still visible in Xcode, select the prototype cell and display the attributes inspector. Within the inspector, change the identifier field to attraction table cells. Okay, so again, we're going to make sure we have this selected here. We're going to go back to this one right here. The one with the little arrow that points down, that's the attributes. See the one with the arrow pointing down? Again, I still have this selected here. I think that's the one I should have selected. Hold on. And so we're going to type it in, I guess. It's not giving me a pull-down menu for that, is it? Attraction. Make sure you spell it right. Table, view, cell. Again, it was this one down here. See how I have it selected? And I typed in attraction, table, view, cell. Just like they have in the book there. There's a little again it's this one is for the attributes right here, right? This is the attributes. Okay, so I am identifying the Swift file that I'm programming to be associated with this. Table views are made up of multiple cells, each with which is actually either an instance of the table view cell, class, or subclass thereafter. A useful feature of storyboarding allows for the developer to visually construct the user interface elements that are to appear in a table cell and then replicate the cell at runtime. For the purpose of the example, each table cell needs to display an image and a label, which in turn will be connected to outlets that will later declare the attraction table view cell subclass. Much like any other interface builder layout, components may be dragged from the object library panel and dropped into the scene within the storyboard. Note, however, this is only possible when the storyboard view is zoomed in. With this in mind, verify the storyboard is zoomed in and then drag and drop a label and an image view object into the prototype table cell. Resize and position the item so that cell layout resembles the illustration. Okay, again, we need to get a picture, so I'm going to go down here and I type in image, right? We need an instance of the image, so I'm going to take the image viewer and drag that out. And I'm going to make it smaller. So again, you might need to scroll, and you can make it smaller by, I was able to select it earlier and shrink it down. It's not letting me shrink it down now. Hold on. Let me delete it and try again. I'll put it up here maybe. I was able to shrink it down and move it around up here. So again, I dragged it kind of underneath this text right here, the prototype cell right here. Kind of dragged it, and then I changed the size so it's smaller. Kind of like the diagram, if you're looking on page 208, it looks like it's right underneath that text right there, right? Then again, you need to put a label out there. A label. Oops, label. And then that's going to go right next to it. Okay, so a label, and make that bigger because it's gonna take a word. It's gonna take and pull a word into there, and it's gonna the box needs to be bigger so the word fits. So after you put the label out here, take and drag the box so that there's more space for bigger words to go in there. Okay, do you see? You can grab the end and drag it out, right? There we go. Okay. Now we need to give it some positioning, right? Everything you put on there, you need to give it some positioning. Plus we want to line the label up with the photo. So we want to make sure that this is aligned. You can move it around so it's in the center there. So this needs to be in the center of this. Okay? Okay, everybody ready? First thing we're going to do is we're going to select on the image view, and we're going to give it some constraints. Select the image view using the auto layout pin menu. Select the settings to nearest neighbor constraints on the top, left, and bottom edges of the view with the constraints to margin option turned off. Before adding the constraints, also enable the width constraint. So again, we're going to go down here to our pinning option, right? Down here. Down here. And we're going to, which one? Top, left, and bottom, right? Turn off constraint. Oh, turn that off first because it's going to change those. Oh, I guess they're okay. So again, top, left, right, and turn off constrain to margins. Then the last thing you want to click in this window, of course, is what they said is the width constraint. This one. That'll constrain it so when the picture goes into it, it stays at that size and doesn't scale it, right? Okay, so it's constraining the box to be a specific size. Everybody got that? The top part is positioning it so it stays within the spot, and the width one will keep it so the box doesn't get bigger. When you're done, you're going to add 4 constraints, and you get your lines.
Do we need to set the margins at 0 for all 3?
Oh, that might be it. Where? This one, you mean?
So, top, left, and bottom.
You want me to do that again? Okay. Click on it. Go here. And what do you want me to do? Turn this off? What are you saying?
Do we need to set those as zeros? Or,
This one, you mean?
yeah.
I,
Do we leave that as is?
yeah. Yeah, the reason why it's not 0 is because where I positioned it in the screen here. Right? So if I move it over, it could be 0. So it doesn't matter is what I'm trying to say. I think it's fine the where it's at. It's just, if you put it to 0, it's going to go all the way to the edge. So I think it's fine the way it is. So again, I think it's fine. It's just going to be over a little bit so it's not on the edge. That's this little blue bar right there. And you can delete these when you know, by just clicking on them and hitting delete when you get to that. Okay, let's get the label. Okay, we need to tell the label to be in the center of the image. Select the label view, display the auto layout alignment menu, and add a vertically in container constraint to the view. With the label still selected, display the pin menu and add a spacing to the nearest neighbor constraint on the left-hand edge of the view and constraint to margins option turned off. Okay, again. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to align this to be the middle of this. Then you're going to go and tell it to be whatever space is between here and there. Okay, so the first one you want to go to this one right here. The one with the 2 little lines right here, the alignment one. So the first one, so select the label, go to this one right here. This one will tell it to be in the center, so click on this right here. And then you want to say horizontal container. Is it horizontal? Vertical, I'm sorry. Wrong. Vertical container. Okay, that tells it to be in the center. And then hit add 1 constraint. Okay. Then I'm going to go to the pin menu here, and I'm going to tell it to be spacing to nearest neighbor on the left side, this one right here. And turn off the constrain to margins and make sure that this one is selected. Again, turn this off and add this in there and say add 1 constraint. Okay. Again, the first option was so that the label stays in the middle next to the picture, and the second constraint is how far away is it going to be from the picture. Okay, almost done. You can do it. We're going to make the data source. The hardest thing is having to type all this data source in. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Having configured the storyboard elements on the table view portion of the application, it's time to begin modifying the table view and cell subclass. Modifying the attraction table view cell class. Within the storyboard file, a label and an image view were added to the prototype cell, which in turn has been declared as an instance of our new attraction table view cell class. In order to manipulate these user interface objects from within our code, we need to establish two outlets connecting to the object in the storyboard scene. Begin, therefore, by selecting the image view object display, the assistant editor, and making sure that displaying the content of the attraction table view cell Swift file. If it is not, use the bar across the top of the editor panel to select this file. So I fought with this for a while, trying to make this work. Okay, so hopefully we can make it work easier here. Okay, you need to make an instance of these objects that we just made. We have a label and we have an image view, and so we need to make an instance of that in the code so that when we take the data and put it in there, it knows where to go. Basically, we need to give it a place so it knows where to put the stuff, is what it's coming down to. Okay. So first one, we're going to select this one, the image view object. Display the assistant editor and make sure that display the content of the attraction table view cell Swift. If not, use the bar across the top. So we want to take this and put it into the table view cell Swift file, which is I fought with this earlier. This, yeah. Somehow it needs to go in here, and so I don't know how I did this last time. I'll have to remember. You need to take this and put it into this, right underneath here. So
I think you need to go to view, system editor.
show assistant editor. There we go. Now I have both of them. Thank you. To get both of them next to each other, it was under View, Assistant Editor, Show Us. Was it Show Assistant Editor? Was that what it was? Show Assistant Editor. There we go. And then this popped up. Okay. Let me move this over so we have a little bit more space here. Okay. So again, we need to take this and put it into underneath this View controller here. So to do that, I'm going to right-click and drag it just below the class declaration, which is here. I believe that's the right spot. And we're going to type in attraction image with a capital I and say connect. Again, I dragged it from here, left click, or right click, I'm sorry, right clicking from here to down here. And you need to do the same thing with the label. Again, I'm going to grab the label, I'm going to right click and drag it down to here. And I'm going to call that attraction label. And make sure you use the capital L. And then say connect. I dragged it right below the other one. This one's here, and then this one's here. Right, you can right click and drag it right there. Make sure you see the spelling. If you don't use the capital M and the capital L, it won't work.
What was the name that you used for the label?
It's this one right here, attraction label. That's what I typed in after I dragged it. And the other one's attraction image. Okay, the last thing we need to do. Okay, so basically you made an object. Okay, you gave it a name. You made an object. You gave it a name. Okay, so the box has this thing called attraction image. The label has a name called attraction label. Okay, now we need to make the data source that will go into each one. Okay, as well as when they hit the button to pull the data from Wikipedia. Actually, they do that in the next chapter. Okay, so this chapter they just make the label, and the next chapter is where they make the link to the Wikipedia. So the link to Wikipedia is not in this chapter. We won't get to it anyways. We're almost out of time now. So hopefully we can get... So everybody got that? Ready to move on? Okay. Dynamic table views require a data source to provide the data that will be displayed to the user within the cells. By default, Xcode has designated the attraction table view controller class as the data source for the table view controller in the storyboard. Consequently, it is within the class that we can build a very simple data model for our application consisting of a number of arrays. The first step is to declare these properties in the attraction table view controller Swift file. So they have you type all this in. Where do you type it in? Well, if you go, I'm going to bring back my this window over here. Okay, and I'm going to go to the attraction table view. Not that one, this one. The attraction table view controller, and actually I can hide this one for now. I don't need these. I've already made that. I can click this to get rid of it. So again, I brought this back so I could click on this. So I'm clicking on the attraction table view controller Swift, and you want to add, is this the right one? Attraction table view. Yeah. Wait a minute. I put the thing in the wrong one, didn't I? Hold on. Yeah. This one right here, the attraction table view cell, is the one that needs the code that I did in the last one, so I made a mistake there. These things need to be in the other one. Not in this one. So I dragged it in the wrong one. So actually these, I made this mistake last time. If I cut this out, these should have been in this one under here. So let's look at the programming files again. Okay, there's two of them, right? You have the attraction table view cell, then you have the attraction table view controller. So in the attraction table view cell, I believe the IB outlet, this one should be here, and this one should be here. So if you have them in the wrong one, like I did in this one, copy them or cut them out. Cut is Command X, right? Command X is cut, and make sure they're in this one. I don't know why when I dragged it, it went into the wrong one. So again, look at the programming files. This table view should have the ones that we just made, this stuff that we just made. So if they're in the wrong one, like I had it, if it's in this one, cut them out of there, select them, cut them out, and put them in this one, right below the class right here. Then go to this one. Okay, so inside the attraction table view controller, we need to add and make, basically, make the list that you see there. So if you look at page 208, the first three lines of code there is to make a string of data. Basically, a string of data is a big long line of data separated by something, usually a comma, right? A string is a long list of data, right? So the first thing, so again, under the import UI kit here, under the class here, I'm going to hit return right after this, and I'm going to type in var attraction image with a capital I, images, then I'm going to equal sign and then a square bracket, declare a string, and then another square bracket, and then curly brackets. You can cheat and copy and paste this. Save you time. You can copy and paste this and then just change the name here. This is going to be names. Names like that. And this one's going to be web addresses. Web addresses. Is there two D's? There's two D's in addresses. There we go. Then below the override down here is where you actually make your lists. Okay? So underneath here, I'm going to type in attraction names. Oops. Attraction names. And then equals. And then make your string. A string of data again is, and of course they have Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace with a quote. It can be anything inside the quote, basically. And you don't have to do it. You can put it in a big long line if you want. You don't have to hit return. Just put a comma between each one. A string, again, is a list of data. And one more, Empire State Building. And of course, put your round bracket at the end. And then they have, of course, the other ones in there. The next one is the web addresses. And of course it's another string. And that's Wikipedia. Whoosh. How about we copy and paste? It's going to take me forever to type in the web address. So it can be any web address you can write in. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Uh-oh. Is that right? Wikipedia? There we go. So first one is what? Buckingham Palace? Oh, jeez. Not that one. No, wrong one. Buckingham. There we go. I'm going to copy that. Paste. Next one is Eiffel Tower. Copy that address. Don't forget the quote. Comma. Remember, comma between each one. Grand Canyon. Canyon. Quote. Don't forget the quote. Windsor Castle. Windsor Castle. And then last one was what? Empire State Building. Empire State? State of Mind? Empire State Building. New York State of Mind. New York State of Mind. Okay. Again, a string of data for the web address. And the last one is what? The pictures. Again, like I was telling you before, the name of the pictures, you can have any pictures. As long as the name that you do there, the most important thing with the name of the pictures is whatever the name of the file that you use is the same name of the file. What am I trying to say? But notice it says JPEG, right? In the book. So you can use any picture name as long as the name of the photo and the name in the string are the same name, right? So, again, attraction, names, attraction, images, I'm sorry, attraction, attraction, oh, I used a capital A, that's my mistake. Attraction images. Isn't that what I called it? Up here, this one. I'm going to just copy and paste it. There we go. And then equal sign, round bracket, and whatever names your files are. I'm going to go from what they have written here. Oops, forgot the quote at the beginning. Don't forget the quote at the beginning. There we go. What do they got? Eiffel Tower. .jpeg. Grand Canal. Or Grand Canyon, more like it, Grand Canyon. Windsor Castle. And Empire State Building. So again, we declared 3 strings. We made those strings. And then the last thing they have in the chapter, or at least on this page, is they talk about initializing the view so it only has 50 rows. In addition to initializing the arrays, the code also sets an estimated row height for the table view. This will prevent the row heights from collapsing when the table view navigation is added later, so the tutorial also improves the performance of the table rendering. So they're giving the height of the table a specific size, and that's under table view, capital VIEW .est. Well, it starts putting up the data here. Estimated row height equals 50. So again, table view estimated row height equals 50. For this class to act as the data source for the table view controller, a number of methods must be implemented. These methods will be called by the table view object in order to obtain both information about the table and also the table cell object to display. When we create the attraction table view controller class, we specify that it was to be a subclass of UI table view controller. As a result, Xcode creates templates of these data source methods for us to use within the attraction table view controller Swift file. To locate these template data sources, scroll down the file until the mark table view data source marker comes into view. The first template method needs to be returned. I don't know, we're going to run out of time. You guys all have the book? Can you finish typing in that later on? We only have about 10 minutes before the next class. You think you can finish typing the last page so we can do the next chapter next week? So again, here, let me just show you how to finish this. Let me show you how to finish. Again, if you scroll down, what they're asking you to do is scroll down here, okay? Down here to where it says mark table view data source. Do you see that with the forward slashes right there? Okay. They're asking you to scroll down to that location. The first template method named number of sections in table view needs to return the number of sections in the table. For this purpose of the example, we only need 1 section, so we simply return the value of 1. Also that the warning line needs to be removed. Okay. So down here, we're going to change this number to 1. Do you see that? Scroll down to where you see where it says return 0. We're going to say return 1. Did you see that? And I want you to delete this warning. Did you see that? Delete the warning. So scroll down, change that to 1, and remove the content there. In addition, The next method is required to return a number of rows to be displayed in a table. This is equivalent to the number of items in your attraction array, so you can be modified as follows. So basically, the next one is going to tell it to how many things are in your string, and bring that back. So scroll on down, going down a little bit more. Okay. You want to remove this star here. Okay. Remove the star so that the override function table view here, UI table view, cell row path index number of rows sections. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Isn't it? Oh, cell row index path. Hold on. No, not this one. Hold on, I'm going to put this back. Oops. Oh, it's this one. No, it's not number of rows. Where's the number of rows? Oh, this one. 4 rows. No. It's this one. Attraction names. Oh, geez. Ah, I did a capital A again. Okay, at least save your file so you can finish it. I'll have to finish it later.